Welcome to Garden Wise Adventures. My name is Malie, and today is a day that we're going to go out and finish up my hoop houses. Now, I've created one hoop house that you can see behind me. I did that in the spring so that I could start some plants early. Now, the way I built it so that we could have a second layer to get us over the cold winter months. So today we're going to add the second layer. I'm not going to add the plastic because it's mid-October. This week is not even really truly going to get into the freezing temperatures. It's just going to be in the 30s. And the only plants I have in there can tolerate temperatures in the 30s. Now we're also going to build a second hoop house, and that one's going to just have a single layer. And we're going to put the plastic on that one today because the temperatures are going to hit the 30s tonight. And I have a tomato and a pepper in there that I want to see if I can make it last a little bit longer. So let me show you what we have done so far. So we have our hoop house here. We've already planted. Planted because, I was lazy with my planting, and these plants needed to get out of their pots pretty quickly. But we're already seeing bug damage, and I think these are grasshoppers that are eating my plants. So that's not fun. Hopefully the cooler weather kills them off and these can last through the winter. So I have 4 hoops, 1 midrib on the back. The front doesn't have one so that I can get access a little bit better. And then I have strings right here that are attached to, I don't know if you can see it down there, but there's a screw with an eye hole down there. You can actually see it on the other side here. Let's see if we can zoom in over there. I don't know if you can see the screw with the eye hole down there, but there's a screw with an eye hole. Now these hoop houses are firm. They don't move around because underneath we have rebar. And so they are pretty firm. So to add the second layer, let me get my shadow out of the way. To add the second layer, I've added these arms, and we're going to put the second layer in here. So let's get started. So now, to make sure that the inside is stable, I have drilled holes in the bottom of these T-connector. And this way I can add rebar in between it. So, as is normal for the way I do things, this project took a lot longer than I thought. I had to get my daughter's help in putting the plastic up, and she wasn't home until later and available till later. So we've got everything put together. I got the double hoop house put together, and we got the single hoop house put together, and the plastic on the single hoop house to protect the tomatoes from the cold temperatures last night. Now, it didn't hit freezing, but it got into the low 40s, which in my experience damages the tomatoes to the point where they don't ripen really well and they don't have as good a storage. It kind of damages the skin. So let's show you what it looks like and what we've done. So let me get my shadow out of the way. Here we have our single hoop house. Now I did not videotape all of the construction because this one was constructed exactly like the first one I made, and I'll link a video at the top. There's going to be a card at the top, and then I'll also link it at the end so that you can see how I constructed these. I came up with this idea from two different videos. One was the JayJen garden channel. He created some hinged hoop houses. But he had wood frames, I have block frames, so I can't screw the hoop house to the frame, so it can't be hinged. I also visited a lady in our area named Neela, and I'll link that video also, and she had a wonderful hoop house and used the string method to keep the plastic up when she wanted to get into the hoop house. So I took those two videos, the ideas from those two videos, and then adapted it to my situation. I had to have the frame be of PVC because of my block beds. And this has worked really well. The one at the top I used early this spring to grow cabbages, in March, and that worked really well. So what we do, the strings, number one, help hold the plastic down firmly, and number two, if I need to get in for a short amount of time, the strings hold the plastic up so that it doesn't slip down. So I can get into the hoop house quickly and easily without a lot of work. For longer periods of time where, if I'm going to leave it open all day and I don't want the wind to blow things away or close it again, I've been using these PVC clamps. I'm only going to have one entrance, but if I want to enter in both ways, the back has been tucked under and clamped down with PVC clamps, and I generally leave the back side closed. We have PVC clamps on the top to help keep this plastic tight through the back. So it's easy to use. The only issue that I'm going to have is watering over the winter. Now we get really cold winters. The hoses usually freeze, even though I do empty them out. I do leave them outside because I just don't have the energy to haul hoses in and out of the garage. But I will probably need to water with a watering can. So if you're going to do winter gardening, you've got to think about how to keep the plants watered. They don't need to be watered often. The hoop house at the top I used in the spring, and it didn't need to be watered very often. The plastic holds the moisture in really well. And once the ground freezes, I don't know if they'll freeze in these beds or not. It really just doesn't need to be watered that much. So we'll see how long the tomatoes and the peppers last. We're already getting some burn on them. I don't know if that's because I didn't get out here to open the hoop house early enough today, or if it just got so cold last night that it did burn the tomatoes. But the little cherries down there seem to be fine. So we'll see how long these last. And like I said before, I do have lettuce down at the bottom that I planted so that we can have a lettuce crop once the tomatoes and peppers are gone. Let's look at the double hoop house at the top. Now, this is going to be an experiment. We're going to have a double layer of plastic like James Prigioni on the Garden Channel to see if this lasts any better. In this hoop house down here, if it gets cold enough, I will put floating row cover over the vegetables and see if that is enough. And this one up here, I won't use any floating row cover. We're just going to depend on the double layer and see how that works. Now you're probably looking at this saying, how on earth are you going to get the inside layer of plastic on? Well, we don't need that layer of plastic yet. These vegetables are pretty hardy, and they're going to be able to handle the cold that we're having right now, because it's not even hitting into the 30s yet. It'll be 30s by the end of the week, but not below freezing. But these ribs right here come out really easily. These have rebar that I can just slip it over the top. So I can pull the top layer off quite easily. Or I can even just pull it back and slip, just unhook one side and then slip the plastic over the inside layer. We'll put the plastic over the inside layer first. And then when it gets cold, like down in the 20s, then we'll put the top layer on. Now, one issue that I'm having, let's see if I can find the culprit. I'm not seeing him right now. He's probably munching on one of my plants, but we have grasshoppers still, tons of them. And they are eating my vegetables already. So what I might do is just put excavate, get rid of all the grasshoppers out of here and put a layer of floating row cover over the top just to keep the grasshoppers out. So that's my experiment. Things are put together. You can kind of see how I've done this. You can make the layers as wide as you want or as narrow as you want. Mine isn't perfect with the spacing. I mean, over here, I could work a little more on the spacing over here, but I'm not too worried about it. Anyway, so that's what it looks like. Now, this is my first year of winter gardening, so I'm really interested to see how it turns out, see if I have the energy to come out and water, and see if things survive till the spring. I'm really interested to hear what anybody else has done, especially in the state of Utah or the colder states, to garden over the winter, and hear if you've had any successes or failures. I know that Neela, and I said I'll link her video, she seems to have had some good success with the gardening over the winter. So get out, enjoy your gardens, let me know what's going on, and have a wonderful garden adventure.